Hello, hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Pretty good. I mean, well, okay, all things considered, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Whew, that was a rough 50 minutes.
It really was. I wonder if we're gonna find out why he was late.
Probably not. I mean, okay, with how leaky the White House is apparently, maybe we will, but
I
I
agree.
really couldn't say. I mean, the reaction online is, as far as I can see, from like anybody but the diehard Biden supporters,
Mhm.
almost universally negative.
Yeah,
But
it does seem like there's an awful lot of cope going on right now.
yeah, I mean, I get that not overwhelmingly negative, like they're saying, oh, there was some substance there, but what it needed to do, it didn't.
Yeah.
It needed to allay people's fears, and my fears certainly haven't been set aside. So, yeah.
Yeah, what I don't know. What's your read on the situation right now?
Um, I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I think the Democrats are trying to. I think they want him out with as little pressure as possible,
Mhm.
and that's why I think the first person to say he should drop out tonight was the ranking member of the Intelligence Committee, and so I think and also someone who had previously said they supported Biden. So I think that was meant to be a big, impactful uh, statement that this wasn't enough to reassure the Democrats, and I think they're just going to keep dropping one by one in the next 24 hours or so, and I think there's going to be quite a few.
Yeah. It
And
do you think that's going to be enough? Do you think that's going to change his mind?
um, I think what might change his mind more than anything is the knowledge that Biden and Pelosi, or not Biden and Pelosi, how ironic, confusing people's names after that.
Yeah.
Obama and Pelosi are just him knowing that Obama and Pelosi want him gone is probably bigger than any number of representatives saying they want him gone.
Yeah, he does seem like a man who's driven by like his loyalties and like his rather than any like facts or logic, like he trusts people, you know? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No, yeah, I definitely agree. I think that you can see his value on loyalty and uh, quid pro quo kind of all over the place. I mean, look at his cabinet.
Hmm.
A lot of his cabinet is, you know, you you do something for me, I'll do something for you, and
True.
it's a lot of rewards. And I think that's actually been one of his biggest weaknesses as a president is his overvalue of loyalty over competency.
Yeah, there were reports coming out about him like not being open to like firing people who were failing to achieve like their goals and stuff like that. Like it does seem like he's always kind of had this reticence towards taking action against people that he's aligned with.
Yeah, and like the when the defense secretary was, you know, was it twice that he was gone without any explanation, and it turned out he was in the hospital and couldn't be communicated with,
Mm-hmm.
and that just you just let that slide. And it's like you probably might have wanted to think of a replacement, and
Yeah.
also with Buttigieg, he's done a pretty awful job as transportation secretary,
Yeah.
but loyalty rewarded.
Loyalty rewarded, and honestly, I think a lot of people are just gonna remember him for like the airline fee thing that was much touted. Happened like a week, not a week, but like a couple months ago. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, an eon ago.
Yeah, yeah, in the before times.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree there.
Yeah,
And it
it's
it does make you it makes me feel even more helpless than it might otherwise, because we've got, you know, the fact that he seems resistant to logic and reason,
mm-hmm.
and he is so much more seems to do things so much more based on emotion and loyalties than anything else. It's one of the reasons I tend to focus more on state politics when I can.
Yeah, I just I keep thinking that there's going to be a point where he wakes up and like he realizes what he's doing. Do you think he already realizes that? Am I a fool to hope for him to like have this realization and to step down willingly, or is this gonna get like? I mean, we're
Okay,
rapidly approaching a point where it seems like there's gonna be some like skullduggery going on.
I think there were a couple positive signs in this press conference. And yes, he was still defiant, saying he's in it. However, he also said that the delegates were free to vote their conscience, and he didn't say that he wouldn't step aside for Kamala Harris. He said that there would have to be somebody, they would have to show him there was no way he could win. Well, we already know that people in his team think there's no way for him to win.
Yeah.
So I think even admitting that is a step in the right direction. But again, I've been wrong in my guesses and estimations. I think I had a higher opinion of Biden's capabilities and thought process than I should have, in guessing that he would step down earlier, because I thought he might, and twice I've been wrong. But I think there were positive signs.
Okay. I've been making predictions that he's gonna step down. You know, I thought he was reading the wind and was gonna step down on Monday during the press conference. I thought he was gonna step down uh, by Friday, and now I'm just like I'm still convinced he's gonna step down. I just want to know if it's gonna happen like in a timely fashion, like before we're all screwed. I ideally.
Yeah. Well, the delay on the press conference did make me wonder if there were some discussions going on about that very topic behind the scenes.
Yeah, I got my hopes up.
Yep. I mean, so did I. I think a lot of us did. And but we'll see. It's like you said, it's uncharted waters. We have no idea what's going to happen next.
Yeah, it is weird. Usually there's some kind of precedent for what's going on, but right now, like no one's seen anything like this ever, you know.
Yep. And there is now talk of a Oval Office address,
Okay.
which they typically those are usually like emergency or urgent addresses
Mm-hmm.
during the RNC next week.
Interesting.
And
Mm.
if you were at the RNC, they're going to have a lot of speakers. Those speakers are going to be bashing Biden. They're going to have their
Yeah.
speeches prepared. So, wouldn't it take the wind out of their sails if Biden dropped out during the RNC?
I think
Throw the
that
whole thing into chaos.
yeah, I think or even dropped out right after the RNC. Like don't even give them a chance to respond. I think maybe that would be the smartest move. I don't know. It's such a hard calculation to make for a trade off like that when your 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 alternative is basically every day, every minute that you don't resolve this is a disaster. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I do know that often candidates get a post convention boost, so it could be a little bit of calculus that the post convention, thwarting that post convention boost
hmm
might be worth a couple more days of suffering.
yeah,
But then again, we've seen nothing to indicate that Biden or the Democrats are that politically savvy that they have that kind of uh, capacity for tactical planning.
yeah.
So
It is. It's been a big weak point.
yep. But I really the one thing I don't share is the dooming on down ballot races.
Okay. Why
I
not?
have not seen any evidence to show that down ballot races are going to be much of a problem. And
Okay.
I was at the Washington Democratic Convention, and this is a
Yeah.
caveat. I do live in Washington, and I'm most familiar with Washington politics. But we had you know, a really successful convention, great platform that we got passed, and importantly, we also put something in there that our elected people have to abide by the platform. So,
Excellent.
but the mood there about state races was so much different than the mood about the presidency. Because you talk to people about Biden and they were, I guess. But on the state level, there were a lot of people talking about because we had, a redistricting lawsuit where we changed some of our districts here, and now we might expand our majorities by at least two representatives and a senator in the state legislature. And there's like an outside chance at a supermajority in the Washington state legislature. And then candidate recruitment for Democrats across the country in state legislatures has been incredible this year. I
Yeah.
mean, we're only missing in Washington two districts. Sadly, one of them is mine, but two districts that don't have a candidate. And that's better than we've done in a long time. In Florida, every single district has a Democrat running. And that's just like amazing. I think there are several other states where they've got Democrats in every seat. And they've got more Democrats than Republicans running in Wisconsin and Minnesota and Pennsylvania. And those are states where the Democrats are trying to make a comeback. And so as far as number of boots on the ground goes, we're uh, slapping the Republicans. Their fundraising efforts for down ballot races are going terribly.
It's true. Like
Are
the from what I've seen, like so far the damage is mostly in like some swing states, in some swing districts, and it's causing a lot of folks to panic. But the fundraising is absolutely in favor of Democrats this cycle. Like hands down. It's not even close.
Yeah, and I'm in Glusenkamp Perez's
hmm
district, and the polling for her looks better than it did in 2022. Like
Really?
right now, it's even with what's his face with Kent,
Yeah.
and in 2022, at this point, I believe she was down by a couple points. And take that with a grain of salt. My memory is not fantastic, and the race wasn't examined as closely because we're fairly red, and then but that changed towards the end, so we'll see. But we're not in a worse position, and we're potentially in a better position here in this particular swing district,
Yeah.
and that's I think also some of the polling out of Florida for the Democrats, aside from Joe Biden, who we'll
Hmm.
ignore, has been pretty good for Florida Democrats. I think there was a poll that had the Senate candidate down only 2 to 4 points behind Scott, which big if true, because that's
Yeah.
margin of error territory there. And then I just think that aside from the presidency, we're not in nearly as bad a shape as everyone uh, might think,
Yeah.
especially with the Senate polling, because the only candidate who was underwater at all in the polling, in Republican internal polling,
Hmm.
was Tester, and that's the one that has me most worried, obviously. But
Yeah. It just seems like I think a lot of Democrats kind of operate on the conventional wisdom of like, well, if the president doesn't show up, that's going to affect all the down ballot races. It's going to affect turnout, regardless of what the polling says. And also, like, if the polling is good for like the incumbent or incumbent, the Democratic down ballot races, that might not matter. Like it might turn into like a heartbreaking loss, and we couldn't handle that. And I think that's kind of where they're at. Like they're in full blown panic mode, and none of them want to take I was about to say the risk, but literally none of them want to take any risk. It's
no, I
yeah.
understand that, and it makes sense. But at the same time, I think that you've got a lot of people who this year, since they're sick of the presidential race. Everybody is sick of the presidential race. They don't like either of the candidates. I think more attention is being paid to down ballot races than pretty much any other time, which is why you're seeing the big delta in polling. And I think down ballot races are I think there's going to be a bigger split between presidential results and down ballot races than there has been in a long time, because I think you'll get more people voting in state and local elections than you will in the presidential election, just because nobody is excited for it.
Yeah,
But some state candidates are exciting.
this is part of the reason why I was suggesting why I wanted to suggest to Progressive Victory that like we run we run on state level candidates as opposed to Biden or whoever the presidential nominee is, because like I think that's where people are getting most excited about this election cycle, and like regardless of who the nominee is, like we're going to be campaigning on the fascist threat Trump poses, and frankly not a lot of people are super excited about Biden's accomplishments, like it's
Yeah, yeah, no, it's really hard to get excited about Biden's accomplishments, especially with the way the last 12 months have been.
yep.
And but like here in Washington, we have a candidate for insurance commissioner who the top issue on her webpage is single payer health insurance.
Yeah,
That's her top goal for her office, and that's incredibly exciting.
that is really
And
exciting.
I think there's a lot of that around the country, and if I think focusing on those is the right tactic, because somebody who might not even want to vote for Joe Biden, who if they're voting for all the Democratic candidates down ballot, might just put in the Democrat at the top of the ticket because they're at the top of the ticket and they're voting Democrat elsewhere anyway, so why not?
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to give you the final word. What do you have to say?
I would just have to say that I don't think we may hate this current situation, but I really don't think there's any reason to give up hope, especially not with how horrible Trump is. I think that Biden is a weak candidate, yes, but Trump is the one he could defeat. So even if we don't get what we want, I do think that at worst we've got a 50-50 chance.
That is a really optimistic way of looking at it, and I'm gonna attempt to adopt that myself as a point of view. Thank you so much for coming on, Dragonfly. I really appreciate you, and like
Yep.
this has been a great convo. Hope you call in
Yeah,
again.
happy to talk.
You have a good one. What are we talking about now? We're gonna do another call in a few minutes. My back is so tense with anxiety. It is terrifying that someone has a 50% chance of losing to Trump. That is scary. See, Jack, you have an awesome audience. That was never in doubt. My audience is great. Oh, Representative Eric Sorensen calls on Biden to step aside in the 2024 race. Scott Peters calls on Biden to withdraw. Yeah, two more. I would yeah. That's four more now. I know what you think about Newsom. What do you think about J.B. Pritzker? I like J.B. Pritzker a lot. Out of all the governor candidates, potential candidates, I would choose J.B. Pritzker. He's the least bad one. He's decent. He seems like a decent man. He is a billionaire. I dislike him on those grounds. That being said, his policies have been pretty good. You know, as far as a lib can go, anyway. Yeah, Governor Pritzker is great. Like, he's not a socialist. He's not a based and cool socialist governor, like I would be in his stead. But as far as politicians go, he's pretty okay. The people's billionaire. What if Bernie Sanders had $1 billion? What do I think of Booker? I don't like him very much. I'm sorry. Better Pritzker than Newsom? Well, yeah, Gavin Newsom was grown in a vat to be a politician. Hey, Monica G. And folks, we've been going for almost 7 hours now. If you've been enjoying the show, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the follow button, and consider dropping those sweet, sweet subs and donos that help me to keep me alive. That's right, they help me to keep me alive. All right. We had Jane, but Jane doesn't appear to be on anymore. So looks like Haruko came in after Jane. Okay. Looks like we'll get Haruko, and then because I'm in streamer mode, it doesn't show me who this H name is. Sorry. Just because he's a billionaire doesn't make him bad. I think almost definitionally being a billionaire makes you a bad person. Like, the amount of exploitation you have to do to become a billionaire is, I think, bad. In other news, I just got a win on Nightmare Mode and Crab Champions. Nice. Read the whole message. Look, I already said I liked his policies. What more do you want? I just think billionaires are bad. One can be a bad person in one way and a good person in many other ways. People are complicated. Okay. Hypno Amber after Haruko. Do. Pritzker's a billionaire because his dad owns Hilton Hotels. Yeah, but like, like there are worse billionaires. I'm not saying he's the devil incarnate. I just don't like billionaires. On all, yeah, that's why he's my preferred governor candidate. Like, I know that he's done good things. Ay. Thanks, Vi Sophie. I feel like I'm going crazy. I get it. I don't think you get it, but that's okay. Yeah, JB Pritzker, the Disney heiress. They're better than other billionaires. You can find worse ones. I think socially he's based, but economically he's cringed. No, actually, his economic policies are also good. The issue I have is with like things that have nothing to do with his policy. Mostly the fact that he's a billionaire, and I think that puts him into a certain class of economic interest that does not align with many other people on the planet in a way that I find is quite usually, detrimental to people who don't have his level of wealth. Like that's the issue. The issue is not anything to do with him. I think he's a pretty great person. I just think that his wealth aligns a lot of his interests in a way that is not healthy for the interest of those of us here. Like he's not like economically conservative and socially liberal. Like he's economically liberal and socially liberal, and that's great. Yeah, again, why are you picking up like I think that he has bad policies? He's literally the preferred guy. It's frustrating. El fascismo nunca triunfará. Not even Tony Stark? Not even Tony Stark. Dude privately built a world-killing weapon. I think that's pretty bad. All right. Let's pull in Haruko. You ready, Haruko? Who are we even talking about? JB Pritzker, the governor of Illinois. Billionaire and best boy. Yoink. Hello. Hello. If you're saying anything, I don't think we can hear you. Did I miss the press conference? Yes, you did. JB Pritzker could simply devour his opponent. Yeah. It working? I mean, you're in here. I can't hear you. Or can you hear me? I have you in the Discord. He didn't resign. He did not resign. But I can't speak. It says you're unmuted right now. It says that you're unmuted right now. I pulled you into the showroom on Discord. I'm a reload. Okay. Let's go, Haruko. Let's go, Haruko. Hello. Oh yeah, like maybe Discord defaulted to like the wrong audio input. Let's go, audio. Let's go. One good thing about this election is that it's not subtle or complex. It's literally fascism versus anything else. Yeah. Ay, ay, ay. What do I do? Check your settings. Make sure that like your audio device is correct. Like you got your. Make sure you got your like devices all set up. Yeah. I don't see Haruko in Discord anymore. She's in the, or sorry, they're in the showroom with me. Like I pulled them in. I'm in settings. Okay, go to devices. Or maybe not devices. Wait. Oh, video, audio, sorry, voice and video. And then you want to make sure your input device is working properly. And your output device is working properly. Sounds like you can hear me, so your output device is working, but maybe your input device is not working. I don't know about Windows, but Mac makes you give permissions, and it sucks when you also have pop-ups blocked because you got to go find the right button at the top. Ah. Still not working? What the fuck? Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. On my end, I checked on the server end to make sure that like you're not muted or deafened or whatever. Maybe if I server mute you and then unserver mute you, it will help. How about now? That work? Gonna take that as a no. Okay, Haruko. If you figure it out, let me know, and I'll put you back in the queue. Had some fun topics. That's all. It's all good. Hold on to them. We'll get there. We'll get there. Let's see. Who is next? I think Hypno Amber was next. Right? I think I am. Right? Is it Amber or did I get the order wrong? Or Paladin was it you? Who's next? Nah, you're good. Okay. So it will be Amber, and then it looks like Amber, Paladin, and then Vox. I think Amber, Paladin, Vox. And then Nine-Tailed Witch. There we go. I left twice already. I'm too impatient. Gotcha. Well, here, let's bring in Amber. Hello, hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hello.
Yay, we did it.
Yeah. How you doing?
Good. It's nice to talk to you. I'm Amber Brains, everybody, because I'm different on Discord. So hello, everybody. Good to see y'all.
What would you like to talk about?
Oh, this has been quite a day, but I did have a plan, so we'll get started. I did want to thank everybody who does donated subs. It helps disabled and broke people out like me, so I very much appreciate it, and it's great to support Jack. So I'm glad to be here. But I wanted to talk about how in other Demon Mama has talked a lot lately about building community in real life as a support system or a mechanism in case things go south,
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about that here because I don't feel like we talk about building a real life community, especially a support community, all that often. But there's one thing that I think that most people miss when we talk about that, and that is there's not enough discussion about how to make sure that the disabled community feels welcome into these spaces by making them accessible to people who are disabled like myself.
Yeah.
And how that would look like, what that would look like in when you are community building, so that we can have some kind of successful support mechanisms.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because we're often like it's like a second thought for us in every space. Like it seems like the disabled community is very much left out still.
Yeah.
Even in leftist spaces, which is why I actually left my communist people that I was with.
Oh, really?
So
I'm sorry
yeah.
to hear that.
So what's important in when you're building an in real life community, a support community, whatever you want to call it, where you are. And this is probably good for people who are doing political actions as well.
Hmm.
Because I think that it's you gotta see who's in your community and who's missing.
Yeah.
So where some communities are really good at making space, it's usually for people who might have developmental disability or mental health concerns, and that's great. That has been a really a good focus, because definitely that part of our community needed that focus as well, for community building. But there's often a very huge gap with people who have sight disability, like I do, physical disabilities, like I also do, but also people who have auditory disabilities where they can't hear as well, or might need ADL, or even to communicate through like technology.
Yeah.
And then there's so it's good to like see who's in your community, and if you're like if you're in a space where you can like physically see your community, and like say you want to do something with your block, like have
Yeah.
a community garden, and you want to make sure, like if you're going door to door, that you know who lives in your area and maybe what their needs are. um and then it's very easy, you ask. Like it's okay to ask us
Yeah.
how you can have a better space for um us, to allow us to access those spaces, those meetings. um and it's also good too, is like sometimes it's good for you to just Google and be ready to ask those questions, like, okay, so I know that you use a wheelchair, so um is this a concern for you? Like if you had Googled like what would a wheelchair user need to um be part of this space,
Yeah.
is this a concern for you? Or stairs a concern? Or is parking a concern for you? If you're talking about a lot of online stuff, like making sure your website or whatever technology you're using is adaptable to visual tools,
Yeah.
like text to speech and stuff like that. Things that help, or readers. A lot of the readers that I use don't work on anything, and it's really frustrating. Nobody puts that cue in their technology to allow readers to work.
Yeah.
um that was a big problem that happened with Reddit, actually, is that they changed something, and then the readers, they wouldn't allow plugins or something. I can't remember
Yeah. It
the
broke
technical
everything.
term. Yeah, and it broke everything. And so it's like really important to make sure that you have those the ability that your technology has readers, or if you're having meetings, making sure that you have the right kind of setup, that you can have maybe Zoom. You can have Zoom meetings so that people can come and be part of the space. And then also asking people, what are you good at? What things would you like to help with? Giving suggestions. Like never assume that a disabled person can't do a thing
Yeah.
just because of their disability, because that you know how they say assuming makes an ass out of you and me.
Yeah.
And that's really true when you're talking about somebody who has a disability. Is like, yes, they might use a walker or a cane or a hearing device, but that doesn't mean that they can't do the thing that you think that they can do. So
Exactly.
always like, include people in asking, what can you do? Well, this is the things that we have available. What are your talents? How would you like to help? So these are all important things to think about when you're community building, um, and making sure that you're just, broadly keeping an eye out, because um, the disabled community, historically has had less. Well, I don't want to say less, because it's really easy for us to get left out of the conversation, and I really, really, really want that to change, especially on the left, especially because Project 2025 is going to really affect the disabled community. Many of us won't be able to leave if there's an emergency. I mean, some people can't even leave, won't even be able to leave their house if there was a national emergency, you know? And
Yeah.
and so it's, if we build community where we're making sure that we're watching out for each other and helping each other if there's if something happens, you know, checking on your elderly neighbor, they say, or just checking in and making sure that everybody has kind of a support system, that would, I don't know, it would just be a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I'm a socialist, so like part of my belief system politically is that we need to rely on socializing. You know, it's in the name of like what we do. And so much of the issues around ableism and issues related to um, all of that really seem to stem from like a lack of curiosity and concern for like our comrades and like the people who are in our communities. And it seems to me like if we were just open to more communication about what people need, what people can do, how people want to like exist and contribute, like I think that would solve so many problems. Um,
Oh, I totally agree. I really believe in like the Black Panther model of community building, if that makes any sense.
yeah,
And that if they came together as a community, the idea was to come together as a community because they weren't going to get their needs met outside of the community. And they did that within their own neighborhoods, and they watched out for each other, and they were really good in respects to their disabled community. Um, you know, helping pick up prescriptions and making sure people went to the doctor and making sure people had a doctor to go to. Um, and it, so that's a thing that has happened previously, and just knowing the people that are around you. And we are so separated by just how the world is now, how technology has like physically separated us, that I think it's really, really good to try and find the communities in your area, you know, whatever city you live in. There's, you know, like here where I live, there's an there's a queer community center that people can go to, especially for trans healthcare and therapy and for rent assistance and stuff like that. So it's like just knowing, like, just going to that place and finding out, okay, well, now who's doing what? Maybe somebody has a trivia night, or maybe somebody has a, you know, there's all sorts of things that you can do to just meet people in real life. And if you
yeah,
can't meet people in real life, like, you know, get on the phone with people. Um, like, I don't know how doing phone banking works because I haven't done it in a really long time. And I don't know if they let you do that remotely, which would help the
oh,
disabled community out a
they do.
lot.
I can
Oh,
confirm
well,
that they do.
that's good. That's good to know. Yay. So that's something, like, if you feel like you can't get out of the house or you don't have time to leave, like doing that at home and meeting people that way, because sometimes there's meetings and stuff that are by Zoom. So it's, we just have to think of, like, we just have to be really innovative, because if things do not go well, which people should be doing this in their communities anyway, um they should be watching out for each other,
Exactly.
just as a measure of self-preservation, if nothing else. But if it's just really important to know, like, yeah, it's really important to know the social part of the being a socialist.
Yeah,
um
it's in the
and we
name.
seem to forget that. Yeah, it's weird how people forget that. It really is. Or they do good in some areas but not others. So um yeah,
Yeah,
that's all I wanted to talk about.
oh, well, I mean, I agree with you. Like it is a very pervasive problem, and it's also one of those kind of insidious problems that for a lot of people, like, they've just kind of grown up in a quietly ableist society, and so they just aren't on the lookout for problems that could be easily avoided. If they just had someone in their life who could remind them to ask, or like could inspire more curiosity, or just point out, hey, why doesn't this place have ramps? Like small things like that.
Right. Well, and they might have a ramp, but they might not have a bathroom that's accessible.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, but it's small things. We do live in a quietly ableist society, which is something we need to talk about more, because you're more likely to end up disabled than you are not to.
Yeah.
I mean, we're the one minority community where you're likely to end like you have a better chance of ending up there than not.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. So I was like, I had a perfectly healthy life before, 9 years ago, and then it's just very different now.
Yeah.
So it's good activism for the people around you, but also for yourself in the future. And we definitely need more hands on deck. Like, there are things that, like, they say you should have on hand in order to leave for an emergency, such as medications.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't get my medications. I can't have, like, my medications are restricted by law.
Oh.
And
God.
there are lots of things that are restricted by law as far as medications go that you would be surprised at, that insurance only allows you to have month by month.
Yeah.
And like that needs to be a discussion for support groups too, is like making sure that people are their doctors set up? Can we do something about that? That's just one example, but
yeah, I mean, if you have to, you can even learn, like, do it yourself, community-based pharmacies. Like,
wouldn't that be excellent?
not
You can make sure
ideal.
that, like, not ideal, no, but
Better than nothing.
but setting up, yeah, it's like when you do a protest or you have a direct action,
Mhm.
you want to make sure you have medics,
Yeah.
And to me, it's the same thing that we should have when we are building our communities, making sure we have medics, in a sense, So,
It's true. Like, part of planning a protest, you want to make sure you got those bases covered. Like planning a protest, you want to make sure, like, it's an acceptable and accessible, like, space, and like figure out the map to keep everybody safe, not just folks who can, like, climb over fences and such. It's
exactly.
there's just, like, a lot of facets where keeping this in mind can help so many people.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Yeah, and yeah, that's really all I wanted to say.
Okay. Do you want to? I'll give you a final word, and you can head off.
Yeah, that would be great. That'd be great.
Okay.
Are you still there?
Yeah. I was like, do you? You can have a final statement if you'd like, or.
Oh, oh, sorry. Like, my phone did something weird.
Oh no, it's okay.
Yes. So, my final statement is that make sure when you're building your communities that you're being accessible to the disabled community, and making sure that the people that are directly in your groups are being taken care of, and that they feel like they're welcome.
Yeah.
And that's it. And goodbye, everybody. It's so great to see y'all.
So great to talk
I love
with
chatting
you.
with everybody. It's so much fun. So, until next time, I'll see you back over on the on your CC site.
You've been so delightful. Thanks for calling in.
Okay, thanks, Jack. Bye.
Bye. That was Hypno Amber. Yeah, you did a good job, Amber. I think everyone's giving you thumbs up. How we all doing, folks? You doing okay? Half of chat has a crush on her voice. It was great, wasn't it? I think such an important and valid point to bring up. Like in planning different events or different things, I want to be more conscientious of that aspect. Because I feel like in the past there have been times where I didn't take that into account enough, and I think it would be hugely beneficial as an organizer for me to keep that in mind going forward in a much more prominent way. So it was personally good for me to hear that message, but I think everyone can get a little can maybe take something away from that. Better to hypnotize you with. Silly gooses. Haruko, did you get your Discord working? If so, we can get you in here if you would like. Oof. You did? All right. Let's get you in here. Here we go. Boop. Hello.
Okay, should work this time.
It does. Hello.
It's everyone's favorite West Virginia hater, Haruko.
You hate West Virginia? Is that what you called in to talk about?
Yeah, actually, I want to talk about how I'm scared of Viktor Orban. He's like the like one of the last remaining Soviet dictators in Europe, and it's worrying because he's in NATO, so he has like a lot of power.
Yep.
Because he's been in there since 2010. He's kind of like he's like a somehow less scary Erdogan, but a more like pro-Russia Erdogan.
Yeah, it is bizarre, like how successful he is. Because like I've got to be honest, I've seen him speak. The man doesn't have riz, like he's not like a particularly compelling speaker or anything. He seems really like banal and like, but like that's kind of what makes him scarier to me, because like he just like calmly and coolly states like the most fascistic policy you've ever heard in your life, and like other people around him just nod like it's the most normal thing to suggest in the world. It's very bizarre, and I understand the concern. Are you concerned about his involvement in the United States in particular?
A little bit, because I feel like with him and Erdogan, who do lean more like pro-Russia and all of that, I feel like it can definitely cause like some inner rift within like Europe again, and like make it a violent region like it once was. And I feel like he possesses more power than he pretty should. By the way, sorry if I slur stuff. I speak too fast sometimes, and I'm a southerner.
That's okay. No judgment. And you've sounded great so far, so don't feel self-conscious. But yeah, you're like, I find it very surreal that he continuously gets like invited to conservative and Republican speaking engagements. Like he gets propped up by the entire conservative media apparatus in a way that is frankly bizarre. Like it's weird to see him on like PragerU videos or like being interviewed by like Dave Rubin. Like it's like the least interesting alliance, but in my line of work, like I have to pay attention to what they say, because otherwise like it just kind of goes unnoticed, and it's worrying, it's troublesome, it's yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like he's going to Trump's house right now, right? And White House said they didn't even know he was doing that. Like, he just pulls a random move like that, and like it really shows you who he's aligned with, and it's really worrying because like if Trump gets in there, who knows what he's going to pull?
Exactly. Like I think Trump gets along really, really well with dictators, and I feel like that's something that should trouble a lot more people, and it just doesn't really. Like people will just kind of nod along with it, It's like, oh yeah, of course Donald Trump loves hanging out with the fascistic dictators. Of course he loves Kim Jong Un. Of course he's hanging out with Viktor Orban, and like, of course Viktor Orban is being allowed to speak to the RNC, and it's very unnerving to see how far fascistic influence has kind of festered in American society.
Well, see, I feel like there's been a rise since 2000, and they've always been around, but a rise in these like multi-party dictators who like keep the multi-party system up, like Putin, just to like make it seem like it's a democracy, but then they like pull this type of stuff so it looks less bad. Like this is how Orban says in the EU, even though he suppresses free speech and suppresses other active parties in there. They have like a Soviet dictator and like this big pro-Western, pro-left union.
Yeah, and I would guess that part of the reason why Trump wants to buddy up with Viktor Orban is so he can use Hungary as a model. As a model for what the United States could be, because I think that Trump's base is really primed in order to receive Trump in, Orbanian terms, Orbanian terms. Um, they're just, well, frankly, they're really primed for a dictator. I like, there's no other way to put it, really. Like they all think that Donald Trump should be a king.
Well, see, it does worry me in the fact that like if Hungary is this way, like what other countries can go this way? It's like even a country like Turkey has been ruled by the same dude since 2000,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like Erdogan's scary too, and he's been in there about the same time Putin has been. And like a lot of the Middle East is controlled by dictators right now, but it's
Yep.
like Erdogan has the most pro-left leaning. That's not like, Israel. But that's the worrying bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
And the US is
oh,
increasingly aligning themselves with these dictatorish characters, and it's because it's like even they were like cool with Azerbaijan during the whole art like Nagorno-Karabakh thing, which is a disputed topic I don't want to get into, but because I don't know enough on it. But it's like even he's like a dictator, and the US has more alignment with him than people are saying, and it's worrying.
yeah, no, it like I
And
don't.
it's a multi-part thing.
Oh, go for it.
Now I just want to say it's a multi-party thing. It's like both parties are doing it, and it worries me more and more.
Yeah, it is the kind of thing where this type of rhetoric seems to be motivating a lot of Republicans, and as a result, the Democratic Party is trying some of it with mixed results. It's I don't really know where we go from here in terms of like healing that damage. Uh, Mostly because it kind of seems like this might be part of like an almost inevitable outcome for like where our capital class kind of wants us to be. Like the the situation does certainly seem to be that well, donors seem to want these more controlled policies, where they can guarantee a return on their investment in ever increasing ways, and that in turn incentivizes them to incentivize the most fascistic among the political class. Frankly, because they get a greater return on their investment when they consolidate power into one guy as opposed to having to bribe 100 guys.
Yeah, and that's the issue. It's like a threat to our democracy, and like I don't have any more to say on that, but it does kind of relate into how like my state itself functions and how like we basically there's no money for the Democrats here, so it's like basically a one-party state in and of itself, and like you could see it turning more and more fascistic as it goes on. Like Jim Justice is about to have a Senate seat for God's sakes, and I like he's one of the worst people to have happened just in general.
I I have to confess I don't know that much about Jim Justice. I've heard his name thrown around a lot. but I don't really know anything of substance about him.
Was like Joe Manchin sucks. We all know
Yeah.
that, but he was like the last kind of Southern Democrat that like West Virginia had. Now we just kind of without him, we've gone full Trump, and that's you can see it because more people keep moving out because we don't have money here, but we're also like just scared of the political climate.
Yeah. It
And
it, it does seem to be that way. Sorry. I'm just you're providing some food for thought, and I appreciate it. Sorry to interrupt.
and it's what it's saying is I like talking about like world politics rather than American politics, and my mind's like used to jumping around and talking about bigger topics.
That's
If it
fair.
weren't for how dangerous this election was, I would not be in American politics at all.
That's fair. Like, this certainly is the kind of election where the stakes simply seem too high to not really be involved. And, maybe part of me wonders, like, has every election been like this and I just was unaware of the stakes? But I think, I do think this election cycle is uniquely, like, this way, you know?
Well, it's like I talk to my grandmother every day, and she's been around for like years, like 80 something years, right? So she's voted in plenty of elections.
Mhm.
And she says no election she's been to has been this worrying. Every like time there was a radical candidate, it was never as bad as what it is today. And she doesn't even have security in the other party. And she, like, she flips parties, but she says like at this point she doesn't see herself going Republican again just because of how wildly fascistic it's gotten.
Mhm.
She said it never used to be that way. It only happened like after Trump.
Okay. Hmm. Yeah.
She was around during the Nixon thing, right? She was around during Reagan's 2 terms, and she's sadly a Reagan fan, but even she said like she can't vote for Trump. So there was like a quality in him that all of the people before him never had.
Yeah. It is very shocking how quickly Trump became normalized. Like, the way he talks even is now just like more common parlance. It's very bizarre, when you think about it, that, like, people go around saying bigly now, you know. Maybe they're saying it a bit ironically, but like that's in the common parlance now. It's in our lexicon, and like that's weird. It's weird how much of a cultural hold he has on the country when he's, like, frankly incoherent and kind of insane. It,
Well, it kind of
yeah.
sorry.
No, go for it.
Well, it kind of ties back into like the European and Asian dictator saying that I brought up earlier. It's like the more you can just like slowly slide in there and make your party more and more fascistic. If you just have like a charismatic candidate, like at the beginning, kind of how like Orban showed something for the Hungarian people, the same way Trump showed something for like these Republicans.
Hmm.
It's converted, he flipped Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, like these deep blue states because he showed them something like, oh, maybe we'll get like a bring back that we're not getting now. And Pennsylvania, if you look at their voting history, was like turning slowly red at that point. And so it worries me that like he's doing the same thing the Hungarian dictators did by just like easing into it and then just suppressing everything else.
Yeah.
Because that's how Putin got into power. That's how Orban got into power.
Yeah, and I mean, frankly, Project 2025 aligns along basically all of those lines. Like, it's basically the plan laid out to turn America into that fascist state that can, like, maybe keep a veneer of like democracy, but for the most part, it's just gonna be Trump land. It's gonna be Trump as king, and that's terrifying as a thought. Because, I mean, for obvious reasons, I guess.
And I guess I can tie this back into like the thing that I've always preached that like this is why I'm scared of republics or representative democracy rather than direct democracies because when you have someone who represents you, there's no way they can represent everyone. And so you have these people like Trump who only are out to represent themselves. He doesn't represent me, but I'm supposed to trust my life in him.
Yep.
I'm supposed to trust my life in Jim Justice. I don't trust these people.
I mean, that's fair. Like, they're not trustworthy in the slightest.
So it's one of those things where like direct democracy, it's kind of like this kind of safety net because it relies on the people, it relies on you rather than relying on someone to do it for you, which is what scares me increasingly after seeing all of how the world's turned out in history and turned out now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's we're currently on the bad timeline. We're on the bad route.
And it's like I don't mean to sound like pretentious or basic. I feel like that's how I'm coming off.
No, you're not coming
But
across as pretentious or basic. Don't worry about that.
it's like Europe's considered like I know it sounds weird to say, but Europe's kind of like the new England of sorts of America. It's like this really developed high class kind of like lefty continent, whereas all the continents around it tend to be more left or right and center. Just some are more left than others. But if like Europe itself is showing cracks, I feel like the world itself is screwed because like how long till this gets to like Spain, who already has right wing tendencies? Like if you look
Yeah.
at how they treated the Catalan referendum when that happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's oh man, the Catalan referendum. That was a bit of a blast from the past. Yeah, no, it's in some of these cases, it's kind of baked into, in a way, a lot of like European cultural DNA, simply because of like the historical precedence of kings, not precedence, prevalence of kings. Like there is kind of these cultural traditions that go back so long, hundreds and hundreds of years, ingraining like superiority into, or not superiority, but like a deference to authority in these populations. And it's just kind of like, I'm not entirely sure. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I thought you were done. My fault.
Oh, no. I guess I'm just not entirely sure at what point. At what point are like does there need to be like a? I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this without using like a loaded term, but like at what point does there need to be like reforms to like their respective educational systems? Because like one thing, to tie it into, again, a book that I won't shut up about because I've been rereading it, King Leopold's Ghost. One of the really interesting observations of the book is that, a lot of these places, venerate their history, but they venerate their history in a way that is extraordinarily flattering to themselves. And, that's not unique, I guess, to, Europe. A lot of places do that around the world. But like in King Leopold's Ghost, the author observes towards the end of the book that like Belgium oversaw the deaths of like tens of millions of Congolese in the wild effort to what?
The Belgian Congo, their colonies they mistreated.
Yep. They like killed like half the population. Like it was crazy. And they extracted tons of wealth from the territory, and under the rule of King Leopold II, they burned all of the records. And to this day, if you go to Belgium, if you go to the area that had the offices of the companies that oversaw the exploitation of the Congo, like you will find no reference in most of Belgium, maybe not all of Belgium, but most of Belgium, to what they oversaw when it comes to the Congo. And there's an observation that even if you were to go to the Museum of Central African History or something like that, it does not really contend with the history of what happened there. And I think in a lot of these cases, a lot of these countries, there is simply not this deep-seated tradition and love of democracy. You can see it in the way that someone like Piers Morgan, for example, like rabidly defends the monarchy. It's bizarre, but like I think there needs to be like some kind of educational reform or movement in order to like really present like the horrors of authoritarianism in a better way, a more effective way. Because I don't know, like there was also that German rebellion recently that wanted to like restore the German king to the throne, and a ton of people got arrested for it. Uh, I know I'm rambling here, but it just seems like there's a very big tendency to bring authoritarianism or fascist tendencies back to the forefront after we've established that they're pretty bad ideas.
Well, if you didn't ramble, I probably wouldn't. But it's so see, there's parts of, and the UK is on its own little saying they have a really weird culture to explain, but it's like certain countries have this kind of dictatorship ingrained in them, like a lot of East Europe due to like Soviet past that just still kind of lingers. And like to the point where like right wing parties are like kind of remembering the Soviet like satellite state days as these great days that they want to come back to. Like I have a Polish friend who tells me like the Polish like right wing party, a lot of them just want the Soviet Union back because a lot of them miss this kind of glory era. So a lot of them still have dictatorship baked into them. Then a country like Spain was controlled by Franco, whereas there's other countries that are less dictator baked just due to them evolving away from that. But even still, we have countries like Italy and Germany, if you've seen their parliamentary elections, leaning very close to the right. I mean, the only reason France made it was because they had their whole like party unity. But not every country in Europe is nearly as flexible. And even if, like, let's say Germany had like a party unity, they still wouldn't have been able to win because, like, number one was their like center right faction, and number two was their far right faction. So they still would have like lost in the European. That's the dangerous part is that we're seeing this weird but slow right wing shift in the
Yeah,
behind the scenes at it.
yeah, it is troubling, and I wish I felt like uh, I mean I wish I felt like there was a solution other than like reforming our entire economic base, but like it really, to me, it really does seem like it comes down to capital interest and how that like toxically uh, kind of compounds with political power. Um, yeah, it's I think to a degree that unique interaction between those two elements really makes this type of outcome very almost inevitable for a lot of groups and a lot of societies around the world.
But what I find, and this is just my observation, is like people tend to, in time of need, elect like these dictators type people. Like in the 1970s after the US installed the Shah, or not, what this is like way after, but like the US installed the Shah in Iran, brutal dictator. So what do? They overthrow him and put in this like Islamist dictator because they kind of wanted a sort of freedom, and they later would reform their system a good bit from the Khomeini days. But back then, it's like Khomeini had some really like crazy policy, and that's what Cuba did too. We installed like a really bad dictator, and they did it too. And it feels like even Germany, when they're at this hard time of economic need, elected Hitler. So it's like because of inflation, because of other like maybe geopolitical crisis, like maybe Russia or something, they want to come off as more strong. So there's like these strongman type dictators like an Orban, and then you have this kind of net where you get people like Trump, in America, who make us come off as like this strong kind of macho, brusque, masculine country. But in reality, all they're doing is pushing these really just dark sayings that people wouldn't imagine would happen again. That's what people aren't noticing. It's a trap that they fall into, and it's something that young people I've noticed have fallen into more and more because I'm younger,
Yeah.
and a lot of these people are kind of saying like, "Oh, well, Trump's not a bad person." It's like the more we glorify this, is the more and more dangerous it gets.
Yeah. It really does it really does fester, doesn't it? And frankly, I'm kind of at a loss. Like, if we don't manage to defeat these kind of fascistic leadings in this election cycle, I'm kind of lost as to where we go. I think like this is kind of like a point of no return if we go down that road. Like it fundamentally changes the nature of the conflict into more of a like violent direction, and but both like for self-defense and survival.
Well, it's like a bunch of people are noticing that like this world that we kind of had under Obama, not that he was a great person, but
No.
that we don't have that anymore. People are like, well, we want that because that felt like somewhat normal. It felt like chill. People weren't suffering on the streets, because I live in a like semi like middle class but lower middle class part, if that makes sense. And it's like a lot of people here are struggling. It's like so it's like it's cool to see people like Jamal Bowman or AOC kind of advocate for these people, kind of make it up. But then you have these people who are like who kind of goes the other way about it. They're like, we don't want actual reform. We want to look strong, so we want these big business people, and then we end up getting crushed because people are like, well, that's what we need. We don't need these like Joe Biden types. And I get it because he's not a great man, but that doesn't mean the other guy's a good option.
Yeah, exactly.
So a
Like,
bunch of people are falling into this red pill.
yeah, they want their president to be alpha and Chad pilled. They want someone who makes them feel like they're part of a strong virile movement to reinvigorate the manhood of the United States. And
It's
Joe Biden isn't really that. He's kind of a boring bureaucrat.
well, see, I've always said after like 2016, 2020s that it's really bad how the Republicans have moved to the far right and the Democratic Party is still center. So you have like a centrist party versus like a radical party rather than just having like a further left party to appeal to the like progressives of the base. Rather, we still keep electing these establishment Dems like Hillary or like Biden instead of people like Sanders or say ALC should she have ran.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you think AOC should have run?
I'd say that I'm biased because I'm Puerto Rican and would have voted for.
I mean,
I mean, look, we don't get representation in Congress.
fair. I'm right there with you. I was really hoping we would get like a I don't know, maybe we'd be lucky enough to get a Bernie run one last time and like a Bernie AOC ticket. I think would have been really fire, but it just wasn't meant to be. It's a little bit too early for her. It's like not quite ready. Like people aren't ready to have her be done in Congress, and people want her to run in the Senate. I know, but like it really does kind of. And frankly, Biden was also too old. So it's. I know I'm rambling. I'm sorry. I have been in my
No,
defense.
you're
I have been
fine.
streaming for like 8 hours, but yeah, no. Bernie AOC would have been my dream ticket for this election cycle, but it was not meant to be.
You would call me a yapper, so like, look, you're fine. In real life, I talk a lot more than this. So like, you're nowhere near as bad as me. Don't even fret.
All right.
But
do you think she would have won?
I feel like if she had a bunch of campaign time, there's a high chance she could have. Yes, against Trump,
Okay.
probably, definitely. I feel like against maybe a younger Republican, it might have been a little more rough, but I feel like she still could have gotten it. I can see like Arizona turnout for her being like big because that's like big Latinos.
Mm-hmm.
It's just my mind's on it. When are we going to make Puerto Rico a state? Like, come on, it effectively helps the Dems. Plus the fact that like we've been asking for statehood for like years. Like, come on now.
Yeah, I mean, I am shocked that it's never a priority when Dems are in power. Because why would you not do that? Why are you just like giving electoral power away? I don't get it on that level. But also, I know that there's some internal debate in Puerto Rico about like independence versus statehood. Do you have an idea of that?
Well, just looking back on history, because like I don't live in Puerto Rico, but I advocate heavily for it. Like a place like Hawaii used to have these independence parties too, So it's like it was a kind of internal shift, but ultimately they picked statehood. And looking at their referendums, the last three have been like not by a majority or not by like a big majority, but by like a very small majority. Like, yeah, we want to be state. And so I feel like the independents will always want to be there, but I feel like it won't probably stick around as far as it is. It's kind of like a Scotland situation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's like I feel like if they did become their own country, they'd kind of fall into what a lot of Caribbean nations fall into, and it's become like a tourist resort, but don't have any actual economy. So the U.S. does benefit it, but it does hurt it when you have people like Trump trying to sell them to Denmark.
Yeah, and like all the YouTube influencers keep going down there and like buying property and land, like assholes.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
It's really not. I remember reading like I think it was right after Trump took office. I remember reading about like a solar energy company that got given like the full rights to basically make electricity in Puerto Rico and like wound up not doing anything and just taking like tens of millions of dollars and then disappearing into the ether. And like that seems to be what I hear about businesses doing in Puerto Rico, at least mainland businesses when they go to Puerto Rico. Like it seems like it's to like scam the government out of money, and then Puerto Ricans get like saddled with unimaginable levels of debt for what? To line like rich assholes' pockets.
This big saying is like Puerto Rico's government's very weak, and so it's able to get controlled like a lot by like the federal government, which I feel like would significantly change should they have like a say in statehood. And like just a little off tangent, I'm really tired of like these people being like, no, they can't be a state because you need to have an equal number of states, or oh no, maybe we need to make DC a state if we make Puerto Rico a state because there's people there too, and then we got to put the Virgin Islands. Like none of them are asking for it. Can we just focus on the main topic at hand that Puerto Rico has been trying since the late fucking 90s?
Yeah, it does. I personally, I'm in favor of like uh Puerto Rican statehood. It seems like the best option, at least for now, for Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico. Like the ability to declare bankruptcy seems like it would be a really useful thing for Puerto Rico to be able to do, considering like all of its current debts are managed by like the court system and private companies. Like even the debt of Puerto Rico gets like commodified by private interests. It's actually pretty disgusting. I recommend more people look into it.
So the thing about Puerto Rico is that like it has multiple parties, but it's mostly down to a two-party system. And when you look at how they act in Congress, because they have like a representative, but they can't vote, so they can't do the same things that like normal congressmen do.
Mm-hmm.
But like when they go into like the U.S. Congress, they have to go for Democrat or Republican, and the two parties fall under those branches. And that's the funny part.
Oh, God.
Yeah, the U.S. like at the time, 1898 did save Puerto Rico from a very bad imperialistic Spain, but they replaced it with a very bad imperialistic white man land, and it's like, oh god.
Yeah, it was. Uh, History has been really not great to Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico deserves better. I wish we did better by our territorial citizens. Like it sucks. It sucks. Like whenever I hear about like Guam or like any U.S. territories, or it's the disparity between like the rights of someone in a territory and the rights of someone on the mainland with citizenship. Like it's
Like me.
yeah, but like there's such a big difference, and it seems like something we should have fixed like 100 years ago. Like it seems like something out of history books. Like, oh yeah, that's how we treated people like a century ago, right? But we got better, right? Right? Oh.
Well, here's the weird part is that like they have US passports. They use US dollars. They are US citizens, yet we always treat them like they aren't.
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, we are Americans. There's 3.2 million of us, and like, you keep ignoring us, but there's still 3.2 million people that demand attention on the world stage so we can get things like aid when you have people like George Bush and Donald Trump who don't help us, frankly, and sorry, like if this sounds racist, but colonizers is how I'll put those two.
No, I frankly, I agree. Like, Puerto Rico is almost definitionally a colony of the United States, and it's disgusting, and it shouldn't be allowed to exist. Like, obviously, Puerto Rico should be allowed to exist, but like this system is disgusting, and I would argue, frankly, I agree with you. It's quite racist. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
Do you, oh, sorry.
I really do think they should get statehood, and it's like, there was a law last year, and I don't know what happened to it, but there was like a law like last year from someone in Congress trying to put that back on the table to get like another referendum in 2025 and have Congress pass it, but that bill is like going nowhere. I keep looking on the site, like nothing happens to it, and it's like, well, that's something. And the weird part is that like I read somewhere, like I said, I don't know if it's true, but like they asked Cuba and Puerto Rico, not the Philippines. Look into that if you want to see some dark stuff. But they asked
Oh
Cuba and Puerto
God.
Rico if they want to stay or like stay as part of the U.S. or leave. Cuba left, and we saw what happened to them because of the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And Puerto Rico stayed because they thought they would get benefits. We still ain't getting them benefits, so that's why a lot of us are like, well, if you're not going to give us benefits, then we're just going to up and leave.
Yeah, like it really does seem like these are tensions that we should resolve as soon as possible, and I would hope that if we wound up with a supermajority, the Democrats would actually do something about this. But I frankly, with the current crop of Democrats, I have my doubts that they would find time to get to it, as it were.
George Latimer's racist. He ain't passing that.
Yeah. Gosh. Do you have any final statement you'd like to share?
Um, I found it fun talking. I would definitely do this again. I got to make sure how to not mess up this last part like Gerald Ford in the debate, so I'm going to make sure that this is good and smooth. Um, yeah, I say that dictatorship always runs in the background, and if you see it running, try your best to get out there and make people see their ways, and don't let random countries promise you things just so they can take your land and then like give you no rights. It still happens today, even if they say it doesn't happen.
True. Uh, Lovely talking with you, Haruko. I hope you have an excellent night. Thank you so much for your
You
time.
too.
Awesome. That was great. I know I have a tendency to ramble sometimes, especially when I'm playing a video game, but hopefully that was all right. Um let's see. Why is Hawaii catching strays? Wait, what? Why are you guys arguing about Hawaii? Not to take away from Puerto Rico, but DC has also been asking to be a state for a while. Yeah, honestly, I've always been kind of confused as to why we don't just make every like territorial holding of the United States into a state. Like, seems like we should. Seems like all those people deserve representation in Congress, in our lawmaking. Like, it's literally the foundational premise of like America is no taxation without representation. I know it's because racism. But like, man, it's 2024. We really should fucking fix this shit. And like, if the argument is essentially like, oh, they're too small to count as a state or whatever, then like we should combine them into like, the micro states of America, something like that. Like they can have like a combined like electoral significance. Make DC a state and merge Rhode Island into Connecticut. I'd be down for that. And yeah, like, I don't think America in its imperial form is going to give back, Hawaii. But again, I am in favor of like land back policies when it comes to like federalized wildlands and like all that stuff. I think indigenous people should have free reign over those areas. Like that seems only just. Like, and frankly, literally the minimum the U.S. government could do. We all ramble down here. It's true. We were all born. Well, I guess not rambling men. Rambling folks. There we go. Oh, I was born a rambling folks. All right. If DC were a if DC were a state, they'd always vote blue. Would be great, right? I think so. Wyoming is the smallest population. Yeah. Not very many people live there, guys. We need more blue states for the Senate. Dear Santa Claus, please send me a blue state. I've been ever so good. We just need 2 more electoral votes. Please, Santa. Please. Can New Jersey be split and given to New York and Pennsylvania, respectively? My impulse is to be mean to New Jersey, so I don't feel like I can give a dispassionate opinion. Gonna take a couple minute break. What are your thoughts on the press conference? Is it Jover? I would expect like 20 to 30 Democrats to come out tomorrow. To basically come out tomorrow calling for him to step down. That is what I would expect. It did not go particularly well. So much for that Monday prediction, right? My Monday prediction was doggone wrong. I really thought though that he was gonna be less stubborn than this. I thought he was gonna read the tea leaves. Feel like Trump will announce VP tomorrow? Maybe. I feel like he's gonna announce it at the RNC, right? Like, so probably maybe this weekend would be my guess. Jack's better at explaining political ideas cogently, not predicting political results. Boo! I'm good at that too. You thought he'd give up? I estimated his intelligence to be higher than it actually is. But Trump is already VP? Haha. Does Donald have a VP in mind? A lot of people are saying it might be Doug Burgum. I don't know exactly why Trump would go the Burgum route, but that's the scuttlebutt, I guess. All right. I hope it's not JD Vance. I hate that guy so much. Like, I dislike him on such a visceral level. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be JD Vance, right? Like, that's just, like, what my gut tells me here. Like, he's so fucking irritating. I just don't want it to be him. Mike Pence is officially out of the picture at this point. Oh yeah. You know, he didn't take the whole, you know, his president trying to kill him with an angry mob thing very well. It's gonna be little Marco Rubio. Wouldn't that be great, folks? I'd put my large, vibrant hands next to his tiny little hands. Little Marco, they call him. Do you have to have a VP? You know, I don't know. I don't know about that one. I would assume you do. But I guess it's one of those situations where, like, hey, maybe it's like an Air Bud situation. You know, it's more of a recommendation. You know, there aren't any rules against not having a VP. I think JD Vance is a stronger pick, frankly, as much as it pains me to admit it. Hey, Justin Freakin', how you doing? My estranged dad sent me JD Vance's stupid book he wrote before he ran for Senate. Oh, God. What if he has Ivanka be his VP? That'd be so funny. It'd be really funny. Like, again, all of this is hilarious if it didn't present, like, existential risks to all of us. Is that a shadow pot? See here, I need... I do like the lies about Baron. I mean, it is funny that they prop him up as like a little emperor, you know? Like they literally want him as like some sort of Greco-Roman Empire. It's very weird. Alright. Speaking of Roman Empire, what did y'all think of the new Gladiator trailer? I actually haven't watched it yet. Is it good? Maybe I'll check it out on my next stream. Let's see. Who is next in line? I believe it was Paladin Lost. Paladin, are you ready to enter into the marketplace of ideas with me, Riverboat Jack? Me, Riverboat Jack. Let's fucking go? Hell yeah. Boom. Hello, hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How you doing?
Fantastic. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Of course.
My name is Jim. I'm a long-haul trucker. I'm currently running a load of kumquats between Sioux Falls and Omaha. And I just wanted to talk about Dr. Fauci and the vampires.
Okay, tell me more about Dr. Fauci and the vampires.
Well, I think that Dr. Fauci is a true American hero. And I think that there are a lot of people who truly don't understand everything behind the actions of Dr. Fauci.
Okay, all right.
In my downtime, I've been reading the Panama Papers and John Podesta's emails, doing my own deep research.
Mm-hmm.
And there is just tons and tons of details in those documents about critical Democrats. You know, Obama, Hillary, Feinstein, Kamler,
Wait.
the Bernie Sanders.
Caller, are you here to say like you're here to praise Dr. Fauci, but
I'm here
Hillary
to praise
Clinton,
Dr. Fauci.
but Hillary Clinton is still a murderer?
I can get in. We can get into that. We can talk about
Okay.
how she murdered Obama's gay lover, that guy in the rowboat out in DC.
Uh-huh.
We all know that Hillary was behind that, but
yeah, of course.
and there are details on that hidden in the Epstein files, which are currently under subpoena.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And the manifesto from that shooter in Iowa.
Of course, yeah.
We can't really go into that because some of that is speculative. But we do have concrete evidence that key Democrats have been using adrenochrome from children to maintain their health and welfare as they grow up in age.
Okay.
And that Dr. Fauci used genetic manipulation within the COVID-19 virus to prevent them from drinking adrenochrome. People who have taken, that's why Donald Trump and Fauci and all of them encourage children to take the COVID-19 virus. the vaccine so that their adrenochrome would no longer be usable. And as you've noticed, these key Democrats are all getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Feinstein is gone. Obama's looking grayer and grayer. Biden's clearly losing his faculties, and it's just, you can see the Democrats without this blood source. They're just falling apart.
Okay, so
And
to be clear, it's not the vaccine that is killing them. It is the genetic modifications from the vaccine have made them unable to drink the blood of children.
drink a adrenochrome.
Yeah. Okay, I'm following you.
And this is truly one of the greatest acts of American heroism that has ever existed. These people were vampires, and they were they were vampires, and they were destroying America from the inside out. They were planning to maintain an eternal empire here in the United States, and without the actions of brave actions from Donald Trump and Dr. Fauci, I I don't think I think they would have gotten away with it. And I think we need to rethink the legacy and eventually when this all comes out, when Donald Trump finally unleashes the storm and and all the evidence is brought to life, I think people will understand that Dr. Fauci is an American hero.
Okay,
So
how did you learn about all this, caller?
It's clearly written within the Panama Papers and the and House of Leaves, that book, and also the lyrics. If you take them and you filter them through the lyrics of Nickelback songs, you get the answers.
But you need all three of them, otherwise it doesn't make any sense.
It's a 3-part code.
Okay.
It's a cryptographical key.
Caller, what did you think of that book series, The Da Vinci Code? Did that have any relevance?
Only in that Tom Hanks is also somebody who drinks adrenochrome, because clearly he's like 90 and he's still playing like 30-year-old characters in movies.
Yeah, exactly. And there was that one movie where he journeys through time.
Yeah, and like Brad Pitt does it because clearly he's aging backwards. Like I saw that documentary where it showed him and clearly like from like 25 years ago, and he was old, and now he looks kind of middle aged.
And
then like probably in another decade he's gonna look like he's about 15 or 16.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And so, I just real quick, how exactly how are these vampires created or formed?
It's through the drinking of the adrenochrome. They're not actually vampires in the traditional sense. They're not descended from like bloodlines in Transylvania or Eastern Europe. They're just people who drink adrenochrome to continue to keep their lifespan young.
Okay.
There's that one. I'm sure you've seen videos on YouTube. I watch this guy, American Patriot News, and he was talking about this billionaire. He kind of looks like the guy from American Psycho. He drinks adrenochrome to stay young. And there's that gay guy billionaire who owns like PayPal and all them stocks and Nike.
Yeah.
And he also likes to drink adrenochrome.
Okay. Who doesn't like to drink adrenochrome?
Well, I tend to like Coors Light personally. But it's kind of hard to find a supply of adrenochrome on the road. But
Wait, are you a vampire?
No, I am very much not.
Okay.
I do not believe Donald Trump is a vampire. He is an American patriot, and clearly, as you can tell, he is getting older. As he likes to pretend that he is still in his athletic prime. And clearly, when he was in his athletic prime, he was a PGA Tour level golfer and an all-star worthy quarterback who taught Tom Brady how to throw.
Yeah.
But you can tell he's not. He used to be like a 28 or 30 in skinny jeans, and now he's like a 32.
Yeah.
So clearly, age is catching up with him.
Sounds about right to me. So you wanted to call in and talk about these vampires.
I wanted to talk about the vampires because I feel like we need to increase funding to public education, because as more and more people go towards homeschooling, those kids are not getting the vaccine, and eventually these people are going to start figuring that out. And these people are going to be susceptible because they don't have the vaccine to having their adrenochrome drained from them. And I think the
Oh,
only way to solve that is through public education.
that makes a lot of
If we
sense.
if we public public education and vaccine mandates.
Yeah, we really need to make sure we're all on the same page when it comes to these vaccines, in order to fight the vampires, which I
I
just
also
believe
I,
you
I
on.
also I also believe that another key would be some wealth redistribution, possibly one of those things where you get a check every month, because if because one of the things that encourages parents to sell their kids to these vampires is
Wait,
of course,
the kids are being sold to the vampires?
well, if you're an enterprising person and you want to make money, obviously Obama or Hillary or all these people, they all have billions of dollars and rich
Mhm.
friends. And and as these people get more and more desperate, there's certainly going to be a cry to get all of this uh there's going to be a cry to get more adrenochrome, and the price will go up and up.
Are are you okay,
So
caller? It sounds like you're crying sometimes.
it's just the effects of driving. I've
Ah.
taken approximately an entire bottle of Stacker 2,
Oh,
and and every once in a while it just causes a little bit of a mood swing here and there.
I got you. I see.
Don't worry, I'll be fine. Uh, and uh, so I believe that universal basic income would be a method to prevent the Democrats from having power.
You know, that's so true. I'm always saying this.
So universal basic income, increased funding in public education, vaccine mandates, and
Chat
18 seconds of Zen shoved up your butt.
and chat. We're talking with Jim, a trucker on the road right now, telling us the real scoop, the real news from the ground.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. I also think that another thing that could potentially help undermine these demon-ratic vampires is universal housing. I believe because the homeless are going to be a group that's highly likely to be unvaccinated,
Mm.
and they could be used in say baby mining operations to create more adrenochrome.
Sorry,
So if
sorry.
we
What? Baby mining operations?
have some sort of either forced birth, because as you get older, the amount of
Oh,
adrenochrome drops,
okay.
but they
Sorry.
want they want them young, so
When when
you
you
want children.
when you said that, I thought you meant putting babies into the mines.
Well, I believe that child labor laws should be revoked. I mean, my youngest is 5 and can drive this Peterbilt as well as I can, so I don't see any reason he couldn't run a short term route. As long as we just have to get him a couple extensions to reach his pedals, but otherwise he should be fine. he's already taken a little. He's already gotten a little taste for meth, so he should be fine for a long haul.
Oh no.
And and so I'm opposed to child labor laws, but in terms of the homeless, I believe that we need to we need to develop universal housing so that they're more likely to be vaccinated and less likely to be part of these baby money operations for this adrenochrome.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already seen them. When you see whenever you see the word CP in any of the John Podesta emails, they're talking about child pituitary gland.
Really?
Any reference to cheese, pizza, or CP is child pituitary gland. That's where the
Okay.
adrenochrome is from.
Oh, okay.
And if they order it with extra pepperoni, that just means they want the whole cerebellum, not just the pituitary gland.
Oh, wait, why would they eat the whole brain?
Apparently, it's a delicacy.
Oh, okay.
Tastes similar to pate.
Interesting.
Well, anyway, I really hope that you use your forum here on C-SPAN to preach these to all of the American patriots out there. And if you are a true American patriot, if you believe in making America great again, I want you to support our glorious President Trump in creating universal welfare, a true social safety net, and national civil service and education for the betterment of stopping these demon rat vampires.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, these demons must be stopped. They are eating the brains of our children, and they've run their last baby farm on my watch. Sorry, baby mine.
Truly, you are an American hero, Jack. You are a true American patriot and a beautiful natural-born woman. And God bless.
Thank you so much, caller, and thank you for recognizing my birth status as a woman. I appreciate that. I'm always saying, why can't more people recognize that? That I'm always saying this.
I know. It's because I've been listening for years. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Jim, the trucker. I very much appreciate the call. That was delightful, chat. And Paladin, you're a goddamn legend. You told me I was good. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know what to expect from that. Keep on trucking, Jim. Doing Godspeed. Jim needs his own show stat. I agree. Jim was giving off very big Big Trouble in Little China vibes. in a good way. I mean, is there a way you could give off those vibes poorly? I don't think so. He's doing Godspeed all right? Yeah. Make Jim the official Riverboat Jack co-host. I think Jim is going to be a special occurrence. Based commie trucker. What was communist about that? Jim was very clearly a red-blooded capitalist American. Was that a satire skit? It was a C-SPAN crank call. C-SPAN tier crank call. And you know what? I loved every goddamn second of it. It was great. Do they even make Stacker 2 still? I don't think so. Got any more tips on rice and beans? That's a very vague question. Can you expand? That was great. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that, Paladin. I hope I did okay. I was really not expecting it. I totally forgot that you had said you were going full C-SPAN. It was a satire of C-SPAN crank callers, but like an insanity level of 10. I really enjoyed that Jim was so conservative and QAnon pilled that he came right back around to being, advocating socialist policies. You need drunk callers that want Destiny to run for president? Why? No, I don't. Oh yeah, no, those are my Discord notifications. I turned them on because I ended my streamer mode, but I should turn that back on. There we go. Nailed it. Okay, you are on the waiting list. Don't you worry, Banana Brains. Next one is Vox Syndicate. If they're here, they don't appear to be here, so we're gonna move on. Nine-tailed Witch, I believe, is next, followed by Banana Brains and then Foxbat, I believe, is the order. You were trying hard. You came real close. I tried real hard. It's the middle of the night here, can't talk. Fair. How's everyone doing? I'm doing good, Dragonfly. How are you doing? You working? Man, I want to call in. Yeah. Well, you know what? We're going to be doing more call-ins tomorrow. So if you don't get your call-in today, get your call-in tomorrow. This has been fun. I haven't gotten the editing work that I wanted to get done today done. But, no, that's been okay. I'll do it tomorrow. No, it made sense to me, Paladin. There's a lot of suburban moms who'd want kumquats. Little Timmy loves his kumquats. He loves them all day long. Both the cum part and the quat part. You know what a nice touch about, like, the horse riding mechanics in this game? Just real quick. I like that it's easier to turn when you're doing a heavy attack on a horse with a giant weapon like this and it trails along the ground. It's actually a lot easier to turn your horse quickly because of the way the physics engine works. It's nice. Joe Biden news has sizzled for the night? I mean, probably. I'm guessing that there are going to be some extraordinarily late. Oh God, it's one of these things. All right. Okay. Okay. Eat my ass. Gotcha, bitch. All right. All this time you could be doing Akira slides on horseback. Yep. God, the lion dancer guys are still scary this far into the game. I don't know what to tell you. Is that the demon from the analog horror? No, but let's good night, Robber Ad said. Get good sleep. Also, folks, we've been going for 8.5 hours now. If you've been enjoying the show, please hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Do the things you need to do to help the stream, and consider dropping those sweet, precious subs and donos, the memberships, the super chats, the bits. You know, the things that help the stream to survive. I'd like to call in, but Discord has not been good to me in joining your Discord. I'm sorry. What step have you been finding yourself in trouble? Maybe I can help. You, with the eyes. Go. Oh, does it need your phone number? Oh, I guess we do. We do have phone verification turned on in order to make sure like accounts are like not spam accounts. Subs and donos keep the vampires away. It's true. If you don't sub or dono, the vampires will come. Today I had my second funniest pissed off car experience. My friend and I were bombing down this parkway at 22 miles per hour. The speed limit is 25. Car came up behind and yelled at us to get off the road right as we all passed by one of those share the road signs. Damn. Social psych explainer. What the hell? It's such a unhinged, like... Such an unhinged, thing to do. Oh, no, I'm good. I don't want to fight these guys. I need to enter the phone number, but it keeps giving me the message that an account with Discord already uses the number, but I only have one account, and I do not remember giving my number before on Discord. Huh, that might be something worth contacting the, like, Discord itself about, you know? Oh, this is a little turtle area. Nice. Oh God. I wish I could be more help, but I don't really have power over, like, the accounts on Discord, you know? Wait, is there an invisible bridge? It looks like there might be a goddamn invisible bridge. That's cool. You've been hit twice by SUVs? That's terrifying. I'm sorry. There we go. Whew. I'd work on a Dennis Prager impression, but he has the most generic voice a human could possibly have. He really does, doesn't he? It's kind of incredible. He's so nondescript, it's like a superpower. A Dave Rubin impression? Hell yeah, let's go. Oh, I need to be like up one more level. Damn it. Go. Those guys are scary. Hell yeah, invisible bridge. Raise the stone-sheathed sword to the light? Hell yeah. Sword of light? What is that? Yo! Sword of light pulled from its stone scabbard at an altar. From the quick of the root, unswerving rays of light intersect and reflect to give the silver blade form. That's so cool. Yo, it's so cool. And I can't even use it properly. Maybe this is the impetus I need to like put my points into like faith. I don't know. Maybe I'll do like a weird little faith build. Hell yeah. What's the scaling? The scaling doesn't appear to be great per se, but maybe it has a really cool effect. I wanna get my stats to the point where I can use it, maybe. Let's see. So next in line should be Nine-Tailed Witch, I believe. Yeah, Nine-Tailed Witch, and then Banana Brains, and then Foxbat? Yeah? I think? Alright. Nine-Tailed Witch, are you here? Are you ready to be pulled in? Ashley! Thank you for helping to create the internet, and I really appreciate you. Thank you so goddamn much. Man, I really want to fucking get this map over here. That'd be really nice. Way for me to get there. Do I mind if I tell you what it does? No, I don't mind. Did I do a silly? Can I just turn right here? I could have just been going up this way the entire time. Look at that, there's a whole place up here. Fool that I was, I didn't realize. Who's next to call in? I believe... Oh, God. I believe the next to call in... I believe the next to call in is... Sorry, I'm really distracted by this writhing mass of tentacles. Go. Got him. The Horned Baron. Probably something sad. Uses FP to summon vengeful spirits around the caster that autonomously chase down foes. That actually sounds really good. Oh, goodness. The Joverton window has shifted today? Absolutely. Would it be worthwhile for me to call back in to talk about something serious? Maybe tomorrow? Because we will be doing more call-ins tomorrow. Let's see. Nine-Tailed Witch, let's get you in here. Hello! Hello, hello. Nine-tailed witch. Hello.
Oh no.
There we go. Hello.
Hello?
Hi.
Okay, you can hear me now.
I can hear you now.
I did nothing on my end, and currently Discord is showing me a failed to load message.
Weird. Well, yeah, we all can hear you. Welcome.
Thank you. Wow, it gets really intense sometimes. I I want to talk a bit about I guess some like thoughts or symptoms around the spread of fascism.
Okay.
Uh So I'm trying to remember the details, but I think it's kind of well known that there was a book written 80s, 90s, detailing how Russia could basically take over the world. That is, I can't think of the name of it, but like,
Is it by Alexander Dugin?
yes, I think so.
Yes.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. That book has a lot of details for how a lot of things have happened in the recent past and is also like a Russian textbook on geopolitics these days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it's kind of like I guess there's something to like potentially examine with it because I feel like it does kind of predict how this stuff has been spreading and worming its way around. But I guess another thing I noticed as well is that a lot of the people that you cover on here, um, they get to talking about like the weird relationships with reality and truth,
Yeah.
and that's a thing that I think is a typical like talking point, and it's interesting because there's like a relationship between the modern, I guess, brain rot type of fascism that we see and some of the older stuff. It's like a lot of the people like Jordan Peterson have a deep fear of postmodernism, as they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And I've been trying to fully understand the philosophy of the post-critical movement, which is sort of what it's kind of been labeled, this rupture in philosophy with the traditional structure. And there are some ideas that I think qualify as like radical in there that are intriguing.
Like,
Uh,
can you give an example?
uh, a specific example. So, like the things that I'm specifically been thinking of that are more in the realm of philosophy are like Zizek's philosophy around idealisms or ideas and people's relationship to them and to themselves and to identity as sort of like this multifaceted, multi-way relationship. There's a bit in there about the philosophy of language and talking about how language literally makes up the landscape and available space you have to talk about something.
Yeah.
And it certainly has been something to see with like how people have picked up on and shifted language in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Um, it does feel like there's a lot of ways in which different segments have very restrictive language points put into place about things, or um I guess something that like it gets kind of picked up on is how like in queer spaces we have so many different labels and micro labels and how they can kind of come into play. I think it's kind of interesting because like it is this little dance of like people identifying and people to some extent, you would hope or expect or think that they are affected by that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting little microcosm, but like, sorry, I feel like I've gotten a little off topic.
No, it's okay. I'm
It's
enjoying
disastrously
your explanation.
it's disastrously easy in this space, but uh oh right. So yeah, in philosophy of language, there's this thing about how language makes up the like space that's available to occupy, and how, like I said, that you get this kind of like I think the older texts about fascism do talk specifically about things like newspeak in a way of like Huxley's A Brave New World.
Yeah.
It's kind of terrifying to watch that sort of thing play out in real time to some extent.
Oh yeah,
Um,
no, of course. Like the book was terrifying.
Definitely. Uh, um, so like you have these things, and I do feel like they come into play in a lot of ways, because I do clearly see how a lot of the people who Ben Shapiro, Talking Head, or Candace Owens, your talking heads, they definitely are picking things to try and reconfigure the meaning of.
Yeah.
This is like the foundation of the entire anti at the foundation of the entire anti-trans backlash, but backlash, but like a ton of it has been tied to the conflation of trans people and grooming as like a that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that redefining of that word is largely a huge mechanism behind which it pushed. And like I also see this kind of worryingly happening. I don't see this. I see a lot of other things that I've started to see as like symptoms of people going to very dark places that I kind of feel like might be important to point out. I pointed out that the reality talk gets complicated, and it is complicated because, like I said, some of the people who sound more into philosophy, but kind of aren't really delivering anything,
Yeah.
tend to fear this potential dethroning of certain ideas that have had a long hold in Western academic traditions.
Hmm.
Uh, but they also at times adopt this very thing themselves to try and explain away how things can be the way that they want them to. They sort of build these intentional like phantasms out of, oh well, the truth isn't all that solid or concrete or this anyways, or they attack people. They attack empiricism by trying to show a bias with anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
Um, and argued that, well, it's it's biased against me. How come every time I bring up a study, I'm wrong, but you're right? And like, I feel like there's something that we've got to do here to try and get ahead of some of this at some point.
Yeah, like what would you suggest? Like what do you think is a good counter for this?
I mean, to some extent, just knowing about these things to like a bit of more of a degree, I think can help, because it can help you identify when someone's like going off of things. I know like the typical things that we see now are just, you can kind of identify when people have a serious case of brainworms. They speak in only thought terminating cliches. Um, but like, um, it is sort of this thing where like they begin to coalesce around like ideas and fall into conspiracy mindedness, and pick up on these anti-intellectual ideas very easily. And I think it's not wrong to say that it's not. It's like out of fear. Uh, if I understand our economic situation, um, as good as Biden likes to say that the economy is recovered right now, it's not good.
No, it is not.
Uh, we could be well justified in having like a state of emergency based on the economic like rot that is underpinning in America. Uh, for almost the entire sake of just like there's a lack of like legitimate goods and services.
Hmm.
So many things that you encounter are uh some form of scam or have built themselves in a way and built themselves up in a way where they really aren't providing the value that they say they are on the tin.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to have to find a way to get away from that, like economically speaking. And my hope there is sort of uh people coming together. uh Starting businesses sounds like a weird way to phrase it, but like if you think about starting democratic work or co-ops to fill those needs in communities,
Yeah.
even just using the role of markets and money, I think you can just start to bootstrap, start to hit the ground running with what you can put together and like make something happen.
Yeah,
And
it really is fascinating. Like for a very long time, like as I've been in this more and more, like it really is kind of fascinating that essentially economics and ideology get intertwined so much. Like one is used to bolster the other, and like it, that's kind of where I've landed too in like my thought process. Like we need to like somehow, some way, in whatever small way we can, change this system. It's one of the only ways we can really save ourselves. It's out of necessity and self-preservation, really.
yeah. um t- 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 See, there's another point here I had about the whole signs and symptoms of the spread of fascism, and it's I know you can like see it sometimes with like the sort of always online leftist
Mm.
types,
Mm-hmm.
which sort of makes a worrying amount of sense because when you start talking about people who like think that Lenin or Stalin had like or Mao had like good ideas, like a bunch of good ideas, um, that's like you should really start to watch them for going a line too far because like we kind of know where that road leads down. We know that those nations well, they behave like most nation states do, and I guess that's another thing is like you can't really pin like any particular nation to be totally exceptional, and I think that's a lot of people's mistake.
Mm-hmm.
um I know people love to try and find simplified narratives like America good or America bad, but
Wait,
like
are you trying to tell me America's not good? Uh,
it's it's another nation state. It really is. Like I wish that we lived by our values and that made us unique among nations, but we don't, and it
it's true.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Uh,
America, the
um,
imperialist nation,
it's
doing.
extra frustrating. It's super extra frustrating because like, oh my goodness, does Biden not know how to wield power at times? And I just wish he would like pick up the tools and get to work.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like, it is kind of incredible that the Supreme Court said, "Hey, here is a huge set of tools that you could use in order to, wield power in the United States." And he's just like, "Nah. Anyway, I'm gonna limp my way through this election."
yeah, no, imagine being handed the power to just single-handedly call a constitutional convention and pick your favorites or pick your best political allies to try and come up with something and being like, hey, what if we made this better?
Yeah.
And then just being like, nah, I think I'm going to do literally nothing, not even like pull a sly move and like expand the Supreme Court on executive order because I can now.
Right. It's such a weak position, and I don't get it. I just don't. And like not only that, but the refusal to actually like do anything about the power itself. Like if the power is so dangerous it can't be used and shouldn't be used, why aren't you doing everything you can to put that kind of power out of the hands of any of your predecessors? Or not predecessors, but
Successors.
successors. Thank you.
No, it's true. But I mean, like Biden's done a lot of things that, like, I don't know, speak more to his, honestly, more to his cabinet and advisors than to him because of like he promised to have a leader to replace him at this point, and to me, I don't think he's at all fulfilled that promise,
Mhm.
and that's also really frustrating. Um, there's not a lot of things that I've seen him do personally. It's always been like these policies, especially with like the labor relations stuff. It's been really great stuff out of the labor relations board, but like he's not directly in command of that. And I thought we were going to maybe get this chance to like really turn around our position on the global stage and do like bring a new era to geopolitics because we were kind of free of some of the oldest uh unsavory characters like Henry Kissinger and how awful he was from DC.
Yeah.
And it seemed like at least keeping in mind with like a mindset of like we need to always be aware of and able to read the situation as like a multifaceted political tool of our other nations along the world and how they interplay with each other. Um, to some extent, that means trying to show that, like, you know, this incredible strength that we supposedly have in this massive military that we built up. Um, it doesn't do anything if you can't show some way to like uh both demonstrate that you have this, but also like demonstrate some principle. Demonstrate that you're like maybe your country is has better values than like just following real politic.
Yeah,
Um
we need to actually follow through on, you know, our potential. You know, our potential
and
for goodness and greatness.
and the sad thing is that like it would do so much to like push back against everything that's happening that's awful on the global stage. Like if the US is more willing to have teeth in a fight or a teeth in on the ground to some situation, but like they're actually really beholden to like the rule of law or to the court system of the UN. Um, well, I won't say really beholden, more like if we showed a real commitment to trying to preserve the rule of law over just what our interests are, even if they are or aren't in our interest. I feel like just being able to flex that bit of strength would quiet down a lot of this saber rattling
Hmm.
in like a very very like oh there's an order to things. I can actually go talk and talk this out to these people because clearly you know the rule of law applies. It's you gotta have like this thing going on with the law itself and power itself and like
And like,
it's good to like break that down and push down decision making to lower people, but you've got to hand that off to a well working system and not something that's falling apart. And I feel like that's kind of like huge part of the problem. of like trying to separate power is like nobody seems to be able to understand. You've got to account for things on a deep level and second and third order consequences. And how will this make people look on the national stage,
Yeah.
international stage?
Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I think you bring up a lot of really great points. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
Um, I mean, like, I guess not specifically. At some point, I want to start streaming, but I've got to finish moving. I really want to get involved in community things, but I keep having this cloud of, oh, I need to move over my head because this. Sorry, I'm going to get into a whole nother tangent. I have
No, it's
spent
okay.
6 months trying to find an apartment.
Oh, yeah.
The like, it's become insane to me because like incomprehensible to me because it's like I try to apply or look at a place and like I get AI responses and
Oh,
like
yeah. They're automating
they
like the
they
housing market. It's really weird.
but like there's no like path, there's no way to actually get the tour scheduled to actually like get somebody out there to look at anything, so you're just left stuck not being able to do the thing that you're supposedly like find necessary to like get housing. You're just sort of like hung out to dry.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if you're like you have the money to pay rent. It is just like now we're just like, oh, the housing market is stalling, not because of the price issues or the pricing, but just like it's gotten to the point where it's just beginning to stall itself in its own inability to like buy and sell, or not even to buy and sell, but just to be able to speak the language of people need to live in place.
Yeah,
And it's just
it
it's gone.
a lot of power and agency has been handed over to these AI like property managers, and it's really weird because the AI begins like setting the prices for rent, and it well, that gets weird very quickly. I think that winds up being inhumane, like inhumanly cruel, and it frankly puts the ability to live outside of normal people's means.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't wish this housing crisis situation. I wouldn't wish my situation with moving and what I'm having to do on my worst enemies. It is awful. It has I've been talking about how my mood is almost completely dependent on being medicated for ADHD
Hmm.
because I'm actively having to use focus and use like meditative techniques to keep my mood stable. I
Yeah,
will freak out and panic the moment that I'm not like focused enough or distracted enough from something. And like that should actually be really hard for me, someone who generally can kind of keep up with a lot of things and like keeps up with politics this way.
yeah.
I have been better.
It is.
Um,
Uh, yeah. I feel you. I also, when I was looking for an apartment a few years ago, like it was bad. I think it's gotten much worse in since I
yeah,
was
no,
looking for an
it's
apartment.
so much worse. You know, I would say when was the last time? 5 years ago is the last time I was looking for an apartment. It felt bad because it felt like every landlord was out to get you, but like you could talk to them, you could actually answer an ad for, oh, here's a place to rent, or go up to a condominium and be like, hey, I'd like to look at your property. Now you can't.
Yeah.
It's difficult even manage to get a showing, to get to the chance of having an application, not to mention the money cost, the filling out of forms, the fact that they want like your supervisor and your supervisor's phone number, and it's like, oh, we never use that anyway. Well, like, then why do you need it?
Yeah. Exactly.
Uh, I'm like, I know that people are going to call if something seems off or suspicious about your application. So like, I also know it's putting it at someone's disposal means it's probably going to be used if you move over certain lines. It's
Yeah.
always how that works.
Yep. It is. It does seem though like there are so many steps to like getting a really what should be a really basic thing, a place to live. Like this shouldn't be
Definitely.
hard. This should be like as easy as like going out and getting some water. Like it shouldn't be a difficult process or mission or like. But no, it can take like months or years to get an apartment, and that's wild. Because it's not even like it's an apartment provided to you like at a discount or anything. No, you're paying full rent. Like your life is paying rent now. Like congrats. We pay for the privilege to even like apply for an apartment. It's wild how
Yeah.
this system works. Yeah.
It's just. Mm-mm.
Sorry, I could rant about this a lot.
Oh, I feel like we could both rant about a lot of things a lot.
Yes. Sorry. Any final thoughts? What were your final thoughts about the apartment?
I just wanted to. I was just thinking. I forget. Yeah, I forget exactly what it was that I wanted to mention. Other than just like, it's so difficult at this point that like it's causing a struggle. Oh, I remember my point. I was trying to say that I wanted to participate in more community things. I had wanted to try to like see if I could run for office, but like
Ooh.
moving states in the middle of an election year is like a pain. It like not even a pain. It's just a complete shooting that in the face, and I am so bummed out about not being able to get involved, and I've been trying to find other ways. I've been trying to do like I tried to do for the phone banking for Jamal and Bowen, and like I couldn't.
It's okay.
But
It was a lot.
it's just been a struggle. I really hope that we can get things to go back together a little bit.
Yeah, and I think we can. Genuinely I do think we can. It's just every day like more news comes out where it's like, oh, that'll make it harder, but I think we can do it. It's not we don't face insurmountable challenges is the thing.
Yeah, I just wish that we like I really wish that people could get on board more, and I feel like that's kind of like where we need to put the most effort into is getting the average person much more on board with what we're doing, because I feel like that's like effectively the essential thing that will make or break socialism in this country
Mm-hmm.
is just getting the average person who goes out and votes on to the idea of, well, these choices don't actually matter. They certainly never mattered to me, and now I have like one or two choices, and they actually just reflect, you know, physical reality of the thing that I'm selecting.
Yeah.
But thank you for having me. I should.
I don't know. I've really appreciated our back and forth. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. And
Thank you. I'll maybe call in again.
yeah, please do. You have a good night.
You too.
Da-da-da-da. App fees need to be outlawed, right? Why can't we do rent strikes? We can, in fact, do rent strikes. The issue is you need to coordinate your apartment building, which you can do through tenants unions, which are really, really neat. Europe has them a lot more commonly than the United States, but essentially a tenants union is a union of the tenants, the people who live in the building. Because if you coordinate enough tenants in enough buildings, and suddenly, an apartment franchise or business is looking down the barrel of, well, oh wait, 5 of my buildings aren't going to pay their rent. I can't evict all of them, so I guess I'll negotiate with them instead. That's kind of the thinking, which I think is actually quite brilliant. I do agree there needs to be some kind of representation among for tenants. We need like nationalized housing to a degree. Maybe not all housing, but the housing people need. Hell yeah, the Sword of Light. I did it. Yeah, the key is you have to make sure that, like, if you do form a tenants union and you do try to play hardball with the company, that you have a tenants union in each or a significant portion of the buildings that they own. Because it might not even be enough if you have all of the tenants in your building. Make sure you have all of the tenants in most of the buildings that they have. Because then you can leverage all the power instead of, like, just a sliver, because they might be willing to take a sliver of damage in exchange for, evicting all of you. So it's a big gamble, but you can get a lot of benefits. Homeless folks are some of the realest. Yeah, some do drugs and some are mentally ill. So are folks with homes. True. A tenants union is a great idea. Yeah, like, again, I would, if you live in an apartment building, I would highly suggest maybe you begin doing some, like, community events, talking with people in your community, building community, functions, and, getting together and forming, it doesn't have to be a union at first. It can be like a social club of some kind, but over time that can turn into a union. So consider like going from, informal events, spending time with each other as friends, and then transitioning to a union together. I think that generally is a great path forward for a lot of this. I can think of a few rental companies that could use tenants unions, right? I can think of more than a few on my part.